start on the front row for Brad Jones Racing, and we're away in race 2 of the MSS Security V8s at Albert Park. It's another good start from Fabian Coulthard, and he just covers his line from Jason Bright as the two Red Bull cars go side by side. Another good getaway from Craig Lowndes. And these two cars at the end of race 1, Jack Perkins, getting into each other on the run to the flag. It was good stuff between the teammates.
It is absolutely good to see teammates racing hard, although the team boss wouldn't be happy with the trading paint that we saw in the first one. Now, this is where the carnage has happened in recent years, and in particular the first race this morning. Into turn 3, a bit of contact. We see the Fujitsu car of Scott McLaughlin run wide. He's lost a handful of positions. Yeah, James Moffat and Garth Tander there. Just a little bit of paint exchanged, and Scott McLaughlin, the Kiwi rookie who has been an absolute sensation this season, just shuffled down the order in the 33 car. But Coulthard already with 10 car lengths over his teammate Jason Bright. And these cars have been so good on the Dunlop soft tyre all season, right from that opening test day we had at Sydney Motorsport Park. These cars were fast. And we saw in race 1, Fabian Coulthard, the strategy for pit lane didn't work for him. He had to pass his way to the front, and he did it almost with ease. Yeah, he had tremendous pace. As we're looking down there, David Reynolds has made the move on James Courtney and Holden Racing Team car. As we spoke about at the top of the program, this is the brand new era for V8 Supercars. 20 years we've had Holden and Ford. This year we welcome Nissan and Mercedes on the grid, and it's good to see this new racing has brought some new competitors to the grid, some new brands, and it's been great to see some new people winning races. It's been dominated by Vodafone, who's now Red Bull, and it's good to see Brad Jones Racing competitive straight out the gate. James Courtney qualified 22nd and charged his way to 11th, so he was one who made good ground in that first 12-lap race early on today. And this weekend as well, I think a good thing. No gimmicks, no jumbled starting orders, no strange starting positions or anything like that. Go out, race. Where you finish one race is where you start the next. And Jason Bright, the first of the leading cars to pit, as does Craig Lowndes for Red Bull Racing, James Moffat, the Norton 360 Nissan Motorsport entry. But it's just back to good old-fashioned pure motor racing, which is great to see for this event. Yeah, it's great for the spectators. It's great for everyone here. It just really provides good racing. So we've seen a number of competitors peel off on the first lap for a pit stop. There aren't any problems there. That's their standard pit stop. They're interchanged tyres. We look down the pack here. We've got the Jack Daniels Nissan now racing hard against David Reynolds in that Ford Performance Racing Falcon. So Reynolds qualified pretty well, P6, but had to work his way back in contact between the Red Bull car and Jason Bright. So the 888 racing car of Craig Lowndes has beaten Bright out of pit lane, but there's a big dent in that rear bumper bar of the VF Holden. And that's going to be interesting, Richard. We saw in the first race a similar scenario where Mark Winterbottom was released in front of David Wall. The cars made contact. Now, contact in pit lane is a bit frowned upon, and it saw Mark Winterbottom get a 50-second penalty. So Craig Lowndes has gained track position in that instance, meaning his pit crew did a better job, a faster job changing tyres than the Brad Jones team, and he's got track position over Jason Bright. And they did the same thing in race 1 as well. They got track position by being better in pit lane, and that's a theme you'll see all over the weekend, of course, in Formula 1. This is a look at the start. Very good getaway again for Fabian Coulthard. The Lockwood racing car just hooked up. The competitors on the right-hand side of screen, like Fabian Coulthard, for example, he's on the clean side of the racetrack. This is not a permanent racetrack. So on the dirty side, where the cars don't run in practice, it's quite hard to get off the line. We can see quite a clean start in those first couple of rows, and Scott McLaughlin back in the pack that he makes some contact with the HRT car of Garth Tander. Yeah, and that's where the drama happened up at turn 3. So this is a look from up above at 1 and 2. Just a few running wide, but you can see James Moffat a little bit loose in that Norton 360 Nissan. A little bit further up the road, there'll be some dramas, and that's what happened with McLaughlin just getting served, and he's dropped back to 9th place, the number 33 car, yet to make his stop as Jamie Whincup peels into pit lane, leaving Fabian Coulthard out on his own, chased down by Will Davison in the number 6 Pepsi Max Crew FPR Ford. Tander up to 3rd. He's been a sick boy this weekend, not feeling very well. Had to change an engine in that car overnight. So some dramas for the Holden Racing team, but they're working their way up the order, as are the Jack Daniels Racing Nissans, 5th and 6th at the moment for Rick and Todd Kelly, the brothers. And throw Michael Caruso there in 7th. The 3 Nissans are running line astern. We watched Jamie Whincup leave his pit stop. Great job from the Red Bull team. Fantastic turned out cars this year. They've switched from Red Bull to, from Vodafone to Red Bull in the off-season. The cars look fantastic. The cars haven't actually been as fast as they would have liked. They didn't dominate as they have in recent years, which is a testament to this new car, the future rules. And it's going to be interesting to see where Jamie comes out in the order here, as Craig Lowndes and Fabian Coulthard will be crossing the start-finish line.
Not good for Triple Eight and Roland Dane. Good for us watching that we don't have one team or even two teams like last year just dominating the sport. And Lowndes is going to get track position. He sweeps through in front of Jamie Whincup and gets track position. The V8's just starting to warm up here at Albert Park. There's more to come when we come back in a beautiful day. The Formula One Rolex Australian Grand Prix. You're watching a battle for track position that might be for a podium at the end of this second of 4 races in the MSS Security V8 Supercar Challenge here at the Formula One Rolex Australian Grand Prix. It's between Jamie Whincup and Jason Bright. Lots of new names, new faces in V8 Supercars this year. One of them's down in pit lane with our own Ian Shuttleworth.
Yes, he's one of the biggest names in world motorsport, Casey Stoner, and you've made the transition to 4 wheels. In the pits here at Red Bull Racing today, just soaking up a bit more information.
Yeah, you know, we're spending a fair bit of time with the team. I know all the boys pretty well and what goes on, but there's not too much I can soak up from this lot. You know, the cars are completely different to the one I'm driving, so, you know, it's just pretty much, you know, spending the week here with them.
The Red Bull boys out there, Lowndes and Whincup, seem to be struggling a little bit so far here at Albert Park.
Yeah, we you know, a couple of the other cars there seem to have things, you know, pretty well dialed in, but, you know, it was their cars at the front last time at Adelaide, so in Clipsal. So, you know, they'll be using this for a bit of testing to figure out their weaker points and hopefully make them stronger.
What about the F1 event itself? Have you spent much time in the paddock at F1 here in Melbourne?
No, to be honest, I haven't spent much of the time in and around the F1. It was nice they finally got on track today and they got to see what was going on, but, you know, it's a long weekend.
What about yourself? First up started the development series last start in Adelaide. Now you've had time to reflect on it. How'd you fare in hindsight?
I don't reflect on things, you know. I'm literally just trying to enjoy myself between the races, have a bit of time off, and you know, we'll see how we go at the next one.
Appreciate your time.
No problem. Thanks.
Thanks, Shuts. He's been lining up to get Casey all weekend long. He's done well, and an interested spectator down in the Red Bull Racing Garage. While we were talking to Casey, change of what will ultimately be the lead. Fabian Coulthard coming out of pit lane behind Craig Lowndes, and meanwhile Garth Tander's not particularly brilliant weekend. Looks like it's getting worse. Smoke coming from the back of the Holden Racing Team number 2 car, and that has expired. Jack Perkins.
Yeah, that doesn't look good for Garth Tander there. We've been watching effectively 2 races. We saw a majority of the field take a pit stop, and we're looking at the battle now for what's effectively for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, although they're currently running 8th, 9th and 10th, and we saw Craig Lowndes to manage to get track position on Fabian Coulthard, so that should net in the race lead by the time the top 6 competitors take their pit stop. One thing we noticed in the first race was over the 12 laps, different cars used their soft tyres more aggressively and less aggressively, and the 2 BJR cars of Fabian Coulthard and Jason Bright really looked after their tyres much better than the 2 Red Bull cars.
And that will be something that we'll need to follow, and we'll see if Fabian Coulthard, who's had amazing car speed, great pace all weekend, we'll see if he can chase down Craig Lowndes for what will ultimately be the lead. Now, there's also an issue in that unsafe release we saw in pit lane with Jason Bright's car that will be investigated over the course of this one as well.
Yeah, that's going to be investigated after the race, so the stewards and the powers to be will discuss whether there was anyone at fault for that. So it's good to see that they're going to get on with the race in here, and they'll sort it out in the stewards room after the race.
Cam McConville, the former racer, stepping up to the driver's standards observer role this season, so he works with Tim Schenken, the race director, and making the calls about penalties like that. Let's talk Craig Lowndes, Clipsal 500. Every time we get a new car in V8 Supercars, and this goes right back to the Australian Touring Car days with the old spec VR and VS Commodores, Project Blueprint when they equalised everything, and now Car of the Future, there's one consistent, and Craig Lowndes finds his way to the front.
Yeah, he's definitely the class of the field in that respect. He's obviously seen as the #1 driver in the category, and often some of these younger guys have got the better of him in recent years, but often when there's a change in the category or something new, a new circuit, for example, Craig is always in that top 1 or 2, so that's showing through here. But all these 4 competitors from Brad Jones Racing and from the Triple Eight team, they're in the brand new VF Commodore, and for the first time in, as we said before, 20 years, we've got 28 brand new cars on the grid. Here we're looking back at a battle between Russell Ingall and Jonathan Webb. Looks like Jonathan Webb's just caught the rear of Russell Ingall that may have been squeezing him off the road, and that's something you learn when you're racing Russell Ingall. You've got to give him racing room.
Just a little bit of paint swapping there between those two. Jonathan Webb picking up some last-minute support from Darrell Lee, owned by the racer Tony Quinn. And some good curb hopping down there at turn 1. It's not like Craig Lowndes to be on maximum attack, is it? Bouncing the car over the curbs. And we're just getting word through. Black flag, car number 1, spinning wheels at the pit stop. I'll get you to explain that in a moment, but it is Jamie Whincup. So from 8th position on the road, but a possible podium overall when everybody's stopped, he will serve a drive-through penalty and basically throw 50 seconds from his race away.
That's an interesting one. What happens in the pit stop when the cars get jacked up off the ground and the pit crew can change tyres? Once the tyre change element of the pit stop is done, the drivers like to get it in gear, get the wheels spinning, get going. That's actually quite dangerous when the mechanics need to put their hands in there to change the wheels. V8 Supercars said no. When the car's in the air, you're not allowed to spin those wheels, and Jamie's got caught doing that. As we see Mark Winterbottom carving his way through the field now. He's got past Russell Ingall and moved into 17th position as he continues his charge from 26 on the grid.
Ingall, the most successful driver ever at Albert Park in V8s. He's been here every year that they've raced. So this battle a little bit further down the field. The enforcer was back enforcing at the Clipsal 500 at round 1. He was back at the front of the field and ended the weekend the leading of the 3 Walkinshaw cars, including the 2 cars from the Holden Racing team. And back on form, the punters loved it too.
It is great. Whenever Russell Ingall is going well, it's good to watch. This is his last year in full-time V8 Supercar competition, and it's great to see him at Adelaide nearly fighting for a podium.
Is it really, though? Is it really? I think if he gets some more good results, he might be back. We've got a battle for the lead evolving. Fabian Coulthard is chasing down Craig Lowndes here at Albert Park. We're lap 7 of 12 in race 2 of the V8 Supercars, and there'll be more of it and hopefully a fight for the lead when we come back. Jamie Whincup coasts through a very long pit lane at 40 slow kilometres an hour, serving his penalty for spinning his wheels before his car was released from the Red Bull Racing garage. Meanwhile, the other Red Bull Racing car involved in a mighty fight for the race lead in race 2 of the MSS Security V8s here at Albert Park. Fabian Coulthard is applying a world of pain to Craig Lowndes, but the multiple champion, the veteran, is well and truly up to the task so far. Car 888 holding on, but Coulthard, Jack Perkins, has just got so much car speed, it's almost an inevitability he's going to get by.
Yeah, it is. That pace in the Lockwood car that Fabian Coulthard's driving is unbelievable. And this is what we look at now. Fabian around the outside of Craig Lowndes into turn 3. Can he make the move stick? It means he's got the entry for the left-handed turn 4, and he's done it. I can't believe he's passed Craig Lowndes around the outside. Great move from Fabian Coulthard. I was just about to say he used all his car speed to catch up to Craig Lowndes, and normally the difficult thing is then to make your way past, but what a great job from Fabian Coulthard. Our first race winner this morning. He's looking good to take the second one here.
And while we're at break, we saw Fabian Coulthard pull almost 9/10 out of Craig Lowndes in one sector of this 5 and a bit kilometre lap. So the thing's unbelievably good through this part of the racetrack where those fast-flowing corners are.
Yeah, and I take my hat off to the Brad Jones Racing team. They're a very small team. They're not factory backed like Red Bull Racing are. They're based out of Albury, just in country New South Wales, and they do a very, very good job. And to see Fabian Coulthard here leading the race and looking forward to repeating his race 1 victory this morning, it's a great effort from that small little team.
And this is what we wanted to see Car of the Future do, the new V8 Supercar do, was bring some new names to the front. And this is another shot of Coulthard just wrapping Craig Lowndes up. And as Jack mentioned, outside of that corner meant the inside for turn 4. And he swept it up. And for the second time today, joy down at Lockwood Racing, because their man is back in front of the field.
Whenever you pass someone around the outside, it means you've got a better car.
How many times have you done that, Jack?
Not that often, I tell you, especially not Craig Lowndes, but that is a great job as we see our effective race leader, Tim Slade, there in the Erebus AMG. He has not made his compulsory pit stop, but good to see that car finding a little bit more speed this weekend. Slade qualified in the top 15, which was a much improved performance from the first round for those brand new Mercedes AMGs, a great looking machinery. And we look now, Fabian Coulthard's already put a couple of car lengths buffer on Craig Lowndes with his teammate Jason Bright currently in 3rd. And have a look back there, we've got the Nissan of James Moffat currently in 5th place in front of the factory Ford. What a great job for the second race in a brand new Nissan Altima.
And Will Davison will wrap Moff up down at turn 1. Of course, Moffat, former Ford driver, as recent as last year with Dick Johnson Racing, but Will Davison goes through. This has been a really impressive performance. I spoke to some of the Nissan guys before this race, and they said, well, we're ahead of the curve. We're ahead of where we expected to be this early into our debut season in V8 Supercars. It's been well publicised that these cars are down on horsepower to the tune of 25 to 30 horsepower. compared to the V8 Holds and Fords, and Tim Slade has not stopped yet. The leader of the race pulls off to the side in the 47 Erebus Merc.
That looks quite terminal. There's a lot of smoke coming from under the engine bay, and it looks like that Mercedes power plant may have expired on Tim Slade.
Fire marshals over there if you can, signal them.
That's Wes McDougall. Tim Slade's engineer, just informing there's a little bit of smoke coming out from under the car.
Such a shame. A team that was Stone Brothers Racing up to the very end of last season, bought out by the Erebus group, and the Stones still involved in that operation. Ross Stone still very much wearing the headsets and calling the shots, looking after that operation. So it is Stone Brothers Racing, just with a new brand. So there's no questioning their ability to produce racing cars and make nice ones. And when you go and look at those cars, they are unbelievably well built. They just need track time.
That's exactly right. The whole project was put together in less than 100 days. The staff down there at Erebus have been working 22-hour days to get those cars ready. Now they've got the cars there. They need to really improve the platform, get some more power out of the engine, improve the car speed, improve the reliability, and they'll be a force to be reckoned with in years to come, I believe.
2 to go. And Craig Lowndes slipping back from Fabian Coulthard. 1.5 seconds to margin. Bright third. This is a look through a couple of the leading contenders. Will Davison next, then James Moffat, an outstanding fifth. And Scott McLaughlin in P6. Once again, the youngster working his way to the front. He's the reigning V8 Supercar Development Series champion, the Dunlop Series winner. So knows how to drive these cars, but he has just performed way above expectation.
He has, and don't forget that first lap he got adjusted back to 12th or 13th position, so they had a great pit stop there, the GRM boys. Good car speed from Scott McLaughlin. I've seen him get into 6th. And one little fact I'll let you in on, Richard, was both Scott McLaughlin and I were the official test drivers for the car of the future for V8 Supercars, and I think that experience is showing through this weekend, this year for sure.
And let's just be full disclosure here. The reason you're also cheering about that is you might have a certain endurance drive with that operation come September, October this year, possibly.
Just quietly, I'm cheering on the Fujitsu boys. I'll definitely be driving one of those Fujitsu cars later in the year. Unfortunately, I'm not driving it this weekend, but great to be here in the commentary box with you, Richard.
They're going well. It's a shame Alex Premar is out after that damage in race 1, because he qualified reasonably well, and that car's shown a lot of pace as well. So we go back and look at Russell Ingall in P16, and Jamie Whincup's day just goes from bad to worse.
That looks like their run-off at turn 3, so he served his drive-through penalty. He was driving around at the rear of the field and perhaps outbraked himself, trying a few little things, maybe trying some roll bars and brake bias changes. See a little bit of gravel coming out there through turn 5. May be causing a bit of a problem for some of the other competitors.
Straight on there at 3, through the gravel trap, kept the boot into it and was able to drive out, but no other cars apparently around, and just outbraked himself. This is a strange thing for Jamie Whincup. You rarely see this guy make mistakes, and he had a terrible weekend here 12 months ago as well. Had a win in the qualifying race, but ended up failing to finish the 4th one. Not the typical Jamie Whincup weekend we're used to seeing, as Fabian Coulthard starts his final lap and on course for a 2nd race victory.
These 3 cars out in front have been in a class of their own really so far this weekend. Both the Brad Jones cars, and Craig Lowndes doing a great job as well. It's interesting you touch on Jamie Whincup there. It's one of those things where, you know, he's used to running out the front, doesn't make many mistakes, but when the race is thrown away like that with a drive-through penalty, perhaps just trying a few things, looking after the tyres as well is one option. But good little battle pack here. We've got Will Davison, James Moffat in that brand new Nissan, and young Scott McLaughlin we touched on here. Be interesting to see if he can catch up to the back of James Moffat, make a pass before the end of the last lap.
Qualified 20th, Moffat, and worked his way to 8th in race 1. He is just going upwards at the moment. Now, as distinct from regular championship points paying V8 rounds, this is a combination of points from the 4 races, and at the moment Moff would finish 5th overall, and that would be a remarkable result. Of course, 2 races to go. You'll see them both live across the course of the weekend. It's been pretty exciting so far. These 2 races today have been intense. It has been properly game on since the lights went out, so this is a good fight. As we look back to a recovering Mark Winterbottom, started this one from last up to 12th. He's holding out Rick Kelly, Michael Caruso and Alex Davison. He's in that 4th FPR Ford for Gelbron Racing this season, the number 18 car.
Alex about to put the move on Michael Caruso. Couldn't make it stick. So Michael Caruso's moved over to the Norton Nissan squad after a few years with Gary Rogers Motorsport and indeed those Fujitsu cars. And good to see him in the factory-backed squad. They're very much looking forward to the rest of the year. They can improve their engine speed, their reliability, and they'll be another force to be reckoned with. These new manufacturers won't be here just to make up the numbers.
Well, they're making up the numbers to Fabian Coulthard at the moment, Jack, because he is in irrepressible form. He qualified on pole, his first in his career. He won race one, the first in his career. Now he makes it two. The Lockwood Racing driver gets another one at Albert Park, and that is an excellent drive to beat out Craig Lowndes and his teammate Jason Bright. They're happy down at BJR.
That's Fabian's girlfriend there, so good to see everyone in that garage happy with the performance as we look at the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th between Davison, Moffat, McLaughlin, and a tight battle back here with David Reynolds and that new Nissan of Todd Kelly.
Great drive from Moffat to 5th, and a recovering McLaughlin, remember, early in the race was just forced out wide and lost a bit of track position, but the Fujitsu racer has worked his way up into the top 6 once again. This young star from New Zealand performing great things for Gary Rogers Motorsport.
The first of the Mercedes there, home, Lee Holdsworth in 18th position. They are great-looking cars, those Mercedes-Benz. As we look to the finishing order, Fabian Coulthard, as we said, that's 2 from 2 this weekend. What a great start to the weekend for him. Craig Lowndes in 2nd. Jason Bright, his teammate, in 3rd. Will Davison 4th. The first of the Nissans and the new boys. The new manufacturers, James Moffat in that Norton 360 Racing Nissan, and the young boy, Scott McLaughlin, another terrific job in that Fujitsu car.
Good recovery by David Reynolds to work his way from 14th to 7th, then Todd Kelly in 8th. Shane Van Gisbergen, 9th.